Hello again, Arcade1Up fans. Brian here. Thank you so much for joining me again. In this video, you'll be seeing some hardware mods that I've added to my cabinet, the Arcade1Up Attack from Mars. These hardware devices include a 32-inch playfield using the Intech Nintendo device, and I also had some sound upgrades and a couple other features giving more of an immersion while playing this cabinet on the Nintendo Switch Pinball FX3. So I'm gonna get right into it. If you're new to this channel and you're watching, thank you so much for joining us. And if you liked the video, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if anybody has any questions after this video, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask me anything you want. So without further ado, let's get into it. So for those of you that are using the Intech Nintendo Switch device, you'll notice that the control panel is missing and the 32-inch mod can work. I only plan on using this cabinet for pinball only. Those of you like having the horizontal games on the back glass monitor, I don't care about that. So I was willing to move the control panel. Now for those of you who have been watching me, you may know that I had some issues with the 32-inch monitor. I originally had it plugged into the DMD port on the Intech PCB. It worked for about a week, and then all of a sudden I wasn't getting a screen at all. And I don't understand what happened. Some of my wiring in here I noticed was a little funky. If I tapped on some wiring that had connected to my light up buttons, which had nothing to do, maybe it was the power, I don't know what was going on. So I bought a new Intech device to check the PCB, thinking maybe I might have broken something on the original Intech PCB. I had the same problem with the new one. I reinstalled the stock monitor, everything worked fine. So my original PCB was good. So my last two options were either buy an HDMI splitter, which I did. You can hook that up in the back of your Nintendo Switch, and that did work, but I didn't want the additional wire or another device to plug in. I went with the LVDS 1.5 version, which is hooked up to this monitor, and all the original wiring is connected to the Intech PCB the way they explain in the instructions. And this monitor has been working just fine. No issues, so I recommend the LVDS way if you want the 32-inch playfield. The monitor is placed at an angle at the back. It's down 2 inches at the back. At the front, it's just one quarter of an inch below the side here, just enough for my 1/4-inch glass to fit. And I have it just before the lockdown bar. This is the original lockdown bar, and nothing is cut off. I got the full screen, you can see here, full playfield, nothing's covered up. If I did not lower it in the back, you would lose some screen at the back here. But honestly, I've been doing a lot of research, and a lot of these virtual pinball machines, the people are tilting the screen downward at the back to give it a little bit more of that effect of the playfield at the back going down and things rising up. I actually wanted to move this down another inch. It's right now 2 inches. I wanted to put it down 3 inches, which would bring that monitor down to about here. So that monitor is about right here. Still a great effect, works really well. I'm happy with it for now. Maybe if I do a PC mod, I'll lower it that 1 more inch. The monitor I'm using is the same monitor that a lot of people started using when they were doing the pinner mod on the original stock PCB. And that is, for anybody that's new here, the 32-inch MN50WB. You can get this at Walmart. I believe it's still out there. I will put it in the link description below. But you gotta remove the whole back panel. You gotta remove the front frame. There will be a metal frame around the monitor itself after you take this off. You have to peel that away carefully. You gotta remove the stand connector that's here. Everything comes off really easy. A lot easier than it looks. I was nervous at first. I didn't want to deal with it. I was buying other monitors, trying to find one that would fit just right. But the plugs were weird where the HDMI connection was. And I didn't feel like spending more money. I'd already bought this one a while back. And I'm finally doing this mod. I originally was going to do it with my stock PCB and do the pinner mod. But my PCB died just this past August after only owning this cabinet for going on 3 years this coming April. And it died on me in August, and the last 8 or so months before August, I was barely playing it with it because I moved into my new house. I've been painting it, and these things were just sitting at my old house doing nothing. So really sad that it died. because I did lose that DMD, and we all know we don't get the DMD through the Intech device. That's just a picture that I threw up there. But also about this monitor, it fits, but it's a tight fit. I was worried about that. Everyone has to unscrew the front and back screws on the side to loosen up the cabinet, to squeeze the monitor in, and then you gotta screw it back up. And I've seen some people where they did over tighten it, they didn't realize some of their monitors started warping. And it just seemed like a hassle. I didn't want my cabinet to be loose. I don't know, I didn't want to over tighten it and crack the screen. I've seen some people crack the screens. So I took it at the next step on decasing this monitor. If you want to do this, gotta be cautious. So this piece I'm holding in front of me, this is a black plastic frame that sits and holds the front glass of the monitor in place. It goes all the way around. The piece I'm holding here is just the top piece. So I took it to the next level and I used a hacksaw and sawed this off each corner, removed it, and this gave me, about a little over, almost quarter of an inch more of space. But I even had to go further than that. When I removed this from the top, there was still these little metal nubs that needed to be shaved down. So I had a Dremel, and I used the sandpaper connector, and I had to sand off each little metal nub that was on there, because just that little bit was still making this a tight squeeze. So you gotta shave that down, and if you do want to remove this, be cautious, because I almost had a disaster. I took it off, I plugged the monitor in hoping I didn't break it, and when I tested the monitor, everything was good until I started seeing black dots all over the place. At first I'm like, dead pixels? No, it was little plastic pieces from me hacksawing this off that got all inside the glass. So I had to lift the monitor glass up itself because it wasn't connected anymore by this top plastic piece, so it easily can be removed, no problem. It just lifted right up, and I had to leave the monitor on, so I had the light going on. Helped me out to use the vacuum, lightly dust all the pieces out. Luckily, the monitor is okay, no problems there. And now the monitor fits in perfect. I didn't have to loosen anything up. It's easy slide in and out. It doesn't bend. It's not a tight fit in the corner. I liked it much better. I took the chance. You can do it, just be cautious. But when you do take this piece off, it's no longer holding in the LED lights. So I had to use 2 pieces of long masking tape, and you can't see here, but all along the top here, I have it covering the play field at the top. It's not covering up the play field itself, but it's just covering up the area that this piece took up. And now you would have saw a blue line going all the way across here, blue LED light shining through. But that's all covered up. Monitor fits in, can be lifted, can be lowered, easy. No loosening of the screws. Easy access if something happens inside, or if I want to do more mods. Moving on to the second monitor. This is the Acer 22-inch. I'm not sure if this one's still available. It might be, but perfect fit for this cabinet. The model number for that one is right here, SB22Q. And this thing fits perfect. It was made for this cabinet. Didn't have to decase or anything. Fits right there. Just don't put the stand on. No problem with this one. And I did show a video on how I installed this. You can look at that. And for this monitor, yeah, I got the animated back glass running on the Google Chromecast. In fact, we'll move on to that next. So yeah, to get this effect, I'm just using the Chromecast here, hooked up to my original HDMI extractor I used on the original stock PCB, so I can run a subwoofer. And the reason why I'm using this is so I didn't have to directly connect this into the back of the monitor, because then it would be stuck inside here and I could no longer reach it. I do have a different device I bought. I bought a media player, which plays video, shows photos. I downloaded a bunch of static images for the back glass art, but they're all static and I haven't found the animated ones yet. These ones are all running off YouTube. So I'll get the occasional commercial, like you see now. But who cares? I'm playing and it'll go. I can just switch it with my remote during a break or pause it. But the animated back glass is fun. And I can play something else in the background if I want, using Google Chromecast. Moving on for hardware. For sound, I have the Logitech Z313 subwoofer in, not the speakers. I use this for all your cabinets. I have this hooked up to all my stock speakers. Sound is great. As long as you got the subwoofer, everybody says the speakers suck. They don't with the Z313 subwoofer. It's perfect. Just get yourself an extension audio cord, plug it into the back of your PCB, and the subwoofer, you're good to go. The subwoofer is down here in the back of the cabinet with the speaker facing out, so I had to turn this sideways. I put some rubber feet on the side and I taped it down so it's in place when the cabinet gets moved and the sound comes out from the grill. Right now the back panel is removed. I'll get into that in a minute. So it might be a little messy here, my wires are over the place. I have a second amp, which I also used in my original stock cabinet. This is a 2.1 amp, 50 watt times 2 plus 100 watt subwoofer, and I have this connected to 4 exciters inside. Now this is the closest you can get to SSF without actually running a 7.1 sound. Now the Nintendo Switch does do surround sound, but I don't think it does for Pinball FX. So this is a simulated to get to feel the ball roll and the bumpers and everything. I have 4 exciters in here, one here, and 2 on the other side, strapped onto screwed into the side here. And I wired them, I split them together. I spliced the wires together, so I got the front left and back left plugged into the left side, and the front right and back right as in sync for the 2 speakers going to the right. And then I have it connected to an additional Sony 100 watt subwoofer that I have on the floor here. Much more immersion. There's my tape, by the way. And this is a passive subwoofer, so I was able just to connect the wire right back up into the connections right here. Sub, left and right channels, and this really opens up the immersion of playing the pinball without having the PC build. You feel the vibrations, you feel the flippers, you feel the bumpers, you feel that ball rolling, you hear it rolling. It's a great effect. Highly recommend it, and then you still get the 2 front speakers with the Z313 sub. So I definitely recommend upgrading to that. Moving on for hardware, the Intech device did come with a nice shelf that you can put your Switch on in the back here. I just have it sitting in one of the slots here. Sits in nice. I can always take it back off when I want to play the Switch by itself. I have my HDMI wire hooked up in my other TV, so no problems there. Let's move on to the analog control. So I have my LVDS box where I purchased my LVDS connector for my monitor. I cut it out so I can fit the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con in just right. A little hole here even for the string to come through, so I didn't want to remove that every time. Sits in nice. You notice that there is a plastic frame wire looped around the joystick part, and I had to drill a little hole in here inside. This wire is running through the inside cab through screw loops, going all the way down. Hooks, whatever you want to call them, all the way down, and I have it tied around a plunger. And this gives you analog control for some of the games, not all of them. Now at the moment, it's not working properly because I have too much slack on my wire. And this is only an issue with Pinball FX3. The slack works fine for Gottlieb tables and pinball arcade tables, no problem. But for some reason, when there's too much slack on the Pinball FX, I get full plunger effect, even if I pull it out slowly. But I can give you a short demo here, and I pull the joystick down. You'll see that you do get that control right there. Oh, I did not mean to let that go. Sorry about that. But you do get, there you go. You do get that analog right there, so I'm slightly moving the wire. And how do you get this? You have to have the second Joy-Con as a second player. Pinball FX supports two controllers, so you can have both controllers on. You gotta make the Intech control deck though player 1. Now, I don't know if everybody's does this, but when I start my Intech device up, for some reason it doesn't want to connect anymore, and I just press the home button on it. And if it does start up sometimes, both lights are lit up green. That makes this 2-player. And you can't run Pinball FX with it. And someone on Facebook helped me out with that back in the day, and I appreciate that. His name is Hector on Facebook, so shout out to you. And so he helped me out with that, and I found out too for Pinball FX, you can play with the flippers on this, but if you make this player 1 and then make the Joy-Con player 2, you can get that plunger analog control. And if you make this player 1, you can play Pinball FX with the Intec device. So make sure you go into your settings and change the control order. Make this player 1. When it's highlight green on 1, that's player 1. So as I said, this works with Pinball Arcade, and the slack doesn't matter, but even if I make this one tight, it should work both for Pinball Arcade and Pinball FX. Now it doesn't work for Pinball FX 3 it works. Pinball FX, it does not work right now, or Pinball M, because they do not support a second controller. And it does not work on the Stern Pinball Arcade app, and it does not work for Zaccaria tables. I really thought it would work for Zaccaria because they have an option in there where you can have 2 A buttons. And I had this on the second player, but just wasn't doing anything. Now I'm doing this video, I'm wondering maybe if I make the Joy-Con the first player and make the control panel second player. I wish I had tried that before this video. Maybe that will work. That might work. I'll have to try that in a different video. So that's how the analog plunger works. Going to the back here again. I future-proofed this cabinet installing 2 fans. I think it's definitely overkill, but I figure future-proof for a PC build. One is blowing air in, one is sucking air out. And I realized at the time that this will start bringing dust in. And I did not plan for that. Things you don't think of. Earlier this week, I noticed on the inside of my glass, dust and specks all over my monitor. I thought I had another dead pixel. It was stuff all brought in from that fan. And at the back here of the monitor, there was a gap in there. You can't see it in the back. But this is why I have this panel open, because I used some foam and I covered up that gap. And there was also a gap underneath the lock bar on each side here, because the monitor's not flush up against the panel here. So I put a bunch of tape over that to cover up so no air comes up and over. And when I turn this on tonight, I was actually going to turn that fan off, but so far so good. It seems to be working. I blocked it, but I probably don't need that air intake. The PCB does get pretty hot on the Intec device. When I was working on this mod, that thing gets very hot. And the power amp I have for my 2.1 amp gets very hot, and I have that inside here. So I'm just being cautious. I don't want this thing to fry, because I'm nowhere near able to do a PC build anytime soon. And it's a lot of fun playing off this Nintendo Switch for now and still getting the solenoid to work as best they could. So that's everything for the back. Coming back to the monitor, and I said I angled it down using the lock bar here. I'm not losing any screen. Everything fits just fine. And the reason why I bought this Intec device in the past was I wasn't going to use this. I only bought it to get the lockdown bar because they had a thin one that they gave you. And this would have not covered up the monitor at the front here, which everybody was complaining about. But when I found out I can move this monitor forward, angle it down, you can use the actual original lockdown bar, which I prefer. So yeah, this Intec device was a backup. I never got to use the pinner mod, so yeah. So you can use the original lockdown bar, no problem. Don't lose any view of the monitor. Now let's look at that control panel. Where is it? Down below. So this is connected, sitting here on the 2 leg platforms. I put a little piece of, and I put it in the wrong place because here, Velcro pieces, so I'm going to have to lift this up and move that Velcro back. And then I'm using 2 L brackets. One right there, one right there. I have it flush with the cabinet on all sides. And basically it's right side up, and I just flipped it forward like that. So when you move this, it's still up, and this is still left or right. I'm not sure if you heard that, but I was tilting the machine. And you notice what this is. So these are camera counterweights. They're 20 milligrams. I got 2 of them. They have a 1/4-inch thread, the same size thread on the joystick bar. So I just screwed it in, but it's only about 5 screws. They don't go in too deep. So I had to put some extra tape on here to hold it in place so it doesn't undo it. But what this allows me to do is have analog nudge. I no longer have to move the joystick while playing using the Intech device. I'll do a quick demo here, do as best I can. So when I shake the table, hopefully you heard that. There we go. So I can nudge it left or right, I can nudge it forward, and I did just tilt it. But yeah, and I get a better effect because I put plastic sliders on the legs here I got from Walmart. And I know you don't actually slide an entire pinball table, but this doesn't have the actual accelerometer in it like Arcade1Up did, where you just kind of had to really just nudge the table a little bit like a real pinball. So this one I really had to slide it, you know, to get, I don't have to slide it crazy, but these sliders gave it a nice effect because the grip on these legs and this floor I have, it was a little harder to move that. You can see if I just give it a little nudge, it doesn't move too much. I mean, I can get it, but I give it just a little bit harder tug with these sliders. With the help of them, I can get that analog nudge. So that's a lot of fun. I no longer have to reach down and move it while we play. And it's still accessible. You know, I can still come down here and move the joystick around to do my menu, press my buttons, no problem. So that definitely brings the immersion. And this works for a lot of tables. It works on Zaccaria, it works on Pinball Arcade. Actually, I take that back. Pinball Arcade and Stern don't work because you have to use the left Joy-Con joystick, so you don't get nudge. Which maybe if I flip the controller, maybe that'll work again. I don't know, but I don't think it'll work for this. But I'll try it in Player 2 and see what happens. And as for the rest of the hardware, on the inside, I have leaf switch buttons, and the solenoids I moved around. Originally the solenoids were way down here on the inside, and then the 2 middle ones were at the bottom. So I got a board. I used the other board that was in the back here of the plate glass. I actually had that board going across in the middle of this inside, right in the middle, and I put the 2 middle solenoids on top of that. And I raised the solenoids a little bit off the wood using 2 washers because it seemed to emit the sound better instead of being muffled against the wood itself. It always kind of gave a muffled sound pressed up against the wood, and I did the same thing for the side. The side ones are sitting on that wood rail on the inside, and I got it right here at the front. And when you press the flippers, you feel it in that touch. So it's like a perfect spot. So if you're still running the stock mode, you can still move those solenoids to that spot. I originally had them right here in the front underneath, and that gave a nice effect too, but I can't do that with the monitor anymore. But honestly, I think this is the better spot. And having the middle and up higher, they're closer to the play field instead of way down at the bottom. You hear them better, and they react to the gameplay pretty nicely. But that is about it for my hardware mods. It gives great immersion. It's about as close as I can get to a PC build or the real thing using the Intech Nintendo Switch. Another little thing I can add that I just remembered, you'll notice I have a little light bar action going on here. This is a Monster sound reactive 6-foot LED strip. And you'll notice you just see 5 LEDs, and they are reacting to me talking. I have it on the sound mode. And you know, I wasn't interested in doing this because I like to keep these arcades close to the original, but they look fun. They add a lot of, you know, when you're in the gameplay and seeing the extra light, it just, you know, distraction sometimes. It kind of gets you in the game with the lights happening on the board. So it's pretty fun. I have it just stuck onto the T-molding on the inside here between the speaker panel and the glass. And I covered up the LEDs in between, so I just have the main 5 lights because a lot of light bars are just 5 lights. I used 2 strips of black masking tape. That 2 of them is just enough to cover up the LEDs so you don't see them. And I cut out little squares, and then I put a piece of clear tape that was frosted just over the LEDs just to dim it a little bit more so they're not too bright when you're playing. And it's wrapping around the side here, and you can see I have it covered up by more masking tape. And it's leading up to the back here, where I'm still working on this, but you notice how I have the lights along my topper here. And I will be using more masking tape to cover up a number of these LEDs because I don't need all these lit up here. I think I'll leave this one strip here to have some backlighting, which is fun. But my topper here, this is really neat. I've been working on trying to get certain spots of the image to light up. Turn the light off here. You can see how the eyes will glow from time to time. And actually this is moved on me. You can see the light strip behind there. I had that all tucked in nice. You didn't see it, but you do see the outline of the LED, which I don't like. And that's where that black masking tape is going to come in to cover up some of these lights. You can see the saucer lighting up. And I just want some of these light streams here in the background to light up. Like that one right there is perfect. Maybe I'll have like his chest light up. But yeah, this is a really fun addition, having that topper. It's based off the remake Attack from Mars machine that came out a few years ago. And they had an animatronic topper, and this is that same image of it that I got. I put it on plexiglass, and I'm gonna do another video just on the topper itself when I get these lights situated. But all run by Sound Reactive, and I got some lights also at the bottom here. You can see they're lighting up as I speak. I've had that since the beginning of the stock mode, and that's definitely it. Tempered glass. Got this from One Day Glass. It came in a week, just like over a week. Nice fit. I will say there's a couple imperfections. I don't know if you can see it. There's like some spotting on the glass, and I don't know where it came from. It doesn't wipe off, but you don't see it when you play. That's got some bad reflection if you got a light above you. You can see that, but where I stand here, you don't get that at all. And the reflection off the moving monitor is not terrible at all. And neither are the LED lights. A lot of times people have these light bars inside the glass. And I thought that would be too much of a distraction, but it doesn't affect the play field at all. And from where I stand, you know, the LED lights aren't too much of a distraction. You can see on camera they look like they are, but they aren't one bit. But yeah, that is everything that I think I can remember here. This was a lot of fun. This project went from a week and a half to just doing the 32-inch monitor to all this other extra stuff. The back glass monitor, changing the solenoids, that just kind of all happened. I wasn't going to do half this stuff. It was just the monitor. That was it. And moving the control panel. So yeah, I really hope this inspires anybody here who has the Intech device. If they want that 32-inch playfield, go for it. It will work. Get the LVDS connection. I will put the links in the description of everything that I purchased for this. And if you are new to this channel, I really hope you enjoyed this. I hope it inspires anybody. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you are new. And I will be pumping out some more videos, hopefully sooner than later, on some other additional cosmetic mods I've been wanting to do on some of my other cabinets, especially my Terminator 2 cabinet, which I want to do a gun mod on there. Different from what everyone else has been doing. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a good night.